Hi, Wendy Murdoch here, and I'm going to show you how to use a regular blood pressure cuff to improve your half-halts. So many people think of half-halts as something that they do with their hand, but really this has an awful lot to do with what you do with your lower back. So your half-halt actually starts in your lower back, and you can modify it with your hand. But if you don't know how to use your back that way, then it's going to be a problem. With the blood pressure cuff, we get a nice biofeedback. We can see exactly what you're doing by what happens on the dial. And Callie's here to help me demonstrate how to use a blood pressure cuff to improve your half-halts. Hi, Callie.
Look forward to it.
Yeah. Okay, so I have the two different versions. I have the less expensive regular blood pressure cuff that we've modified, and there's a little video that shows you how to modify the cuff. You have to remove a couple pieces and fold it. And then the more expensive version, this is called the back stabilizer, and it also has a dial, but basically they both do the same thing. So what we're going to do, Callie, is have you lay on the table with your head at that end and your feet at that end. Great. And she's got her knees bent and her feet standing on the table or on the floor. That's exactly what we want. And we're going to take this cuff, I'm going to unfold the tube. It's brand new, so the tube's a little bit out of control. Okay, and we have to make sure that we have the tube coming off to the side. We don't want that underneath her. But you're going to take this cuff and just place it underneath your lower back. So lift up a bit. And you want it at about your belt height. Okay, so now lift up and put it too low. So here it's down on her sacrum, and that's not going to give us any real feedback about what her lower back is doing. And then lift up and put it too high. Up there would be too high. Up underneath the rib cage, that's too high. So Goldilocks, that's too high, the other's too low. Just right is underneath that lower back area. Okay, right now it's totally deflated, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist the knob on this has a name, sphygmometer. I can't remember, the dial. Okay, I've closed the valve off, and then I'm just going to pump, and I'm going to look at it and just pump till it goes up to 40. Okay, so now this is just baseline, 40. And that can change over time, but this is just where you are right now. You just pump it up till it reads 40, whatever your lower back position is. Okay, and if it drops a tiny bit, once you set it, if it drops, you don't want to keep pumping to make it at 40. You just get it to 40, and then you're going to leave it, because if you keep pumping, you're actually altering the whole system, right? So now, Callie, I'm just going to hold this where I can watch it for a second, and just bring both knees towards your chest. Okay, and go back, that's fine. So I'm going to do that where the camera can see. Okay, and slowly bring both knees towards your chest. And what I observed, and go back down, is that the needle dropped before it went up, which means your lower back went away from the table before your lower back went to the table. So if you're on your horse and you do that, you're going to hollow your back and stick your seat bones out behind you when you really wanted to flatten your back. Okay, so that tells us that there's something going on in the way Callie brings both knees that she, do it slowly, okay, that she tightens here and somehow that lower back comes away, right? So what we're going to do this time, and I'm just going to watch the dial, and what's really interesting is that the number has actually gotten lower, which means that your lower back has gotten further away from the table the more we did this, okay? We lost our baseline. So now just bring, and I'm going to have it where you can see it, just bring one knee toward the chest. Yep. And as you did that, did the needle go up, down, or stay the same?
Same thing. It went down and then it went up.
Okay. So bring the other knee toward your chest. And what happens?
Same. Down and then up.
So now watching the dial, and this is where the biofeedback comes in, that Callie can watch the dial. And the question is, can you bring one knee, and you don't have to lift it very far, right? But can you bring one knee toward your chest without that going down? And she has to do something completely different to move her leg and keep the pressure against the table. Can you feel that? That took a lot of thought, right? Then just do the other leg and figure out which one's easier. And we can see that Callie has to think very hard about this because she's becoming aware of the habits that she has when she moves her leg in this position. So the table is basically simulating the line that we want our back against when we're riding. And we can't get that feedback very efficiently about what we're doing when we're upright. But here it becomes very, very clear. Okay? So just experiment with being able to bring your knee towards your chest. Yep. And at a certain point, if she brings the knee far enough, so start. Did it go down or up?
Went up.
Okay, and now if we keep going, let me take your leg, the weight of your leg over your back is going to make the number go up, right? Now, let me put it down. I'll put it down for you. Watch the needle. Does the needle drop precipitously, like quickly, or can you control that all the way down?
Yeah, it's slow and steady.
Yeah. And so what we're looking for is that you can see what your lower back is doing in terms of its expansion as you move your legs. And this is just one of the things that you can do using the blood pressure cuff to give you that biofeedback of bringing one knee towards your chest and then putting it back down, okay? So what I'm gonna do is take this cuff out from underneath your back and go to the other, less expensive one, which is gonna do exactly the same thing. I'm just gonna squeeze the air out of this one a little bit. And so with this version, what we want to do is fold it into thirds so that the bladder that's inside is underneath the lower back. And we have two cords coming out, okay, one for the needle and one for the bulb, right? So we're going to flip it like that because we're going to have it come off on this side. And again, you place it underneath your lower back. And one of the nice things about this is that this is a little bit longer, I think. Right, and you can hold that easily. Yep. I'm just going to close off the bulb. Now you can take this hand, just pump it till it gets to 40.
Do I need to close it? It's dropping.
Yeah, we need to make sure that that valve is closed.
I can rearrange it too. I'm really feeling it on this side.
Yeah. So if you don't have it evenly in the middle and you have more contact on one side of your back than the other, the air is going to go where there's no contact. But there is a way to use two blood pressure cuffs to make your back even, and we'll do that in a moment. Okay, you're actually almost you're over 50, which is okay. It's a baseline. Okay, so now you can let the bulb go so you don't cheat. Okay, and you can hold that. So this is a little longer, it's maybe a little easier. Okay, and now see if you can gradually make that needle go up, very gradually. And what I'm watching to see is whether or not she tenses the abdominal muscles. Okay, so you can actually do this. You can use your back without tensing your abdominal muscles, and that's really what you want to do when you're riding, is not necessarily pull in here to make the needle go up, but figure out how to use the back muscles to make the needle go up without tensing the abdomen. Because if we pull the abdomen in too tight, we're going to affect the hip joints and stiffen them. Okay, so that's nice. You can have your hand right there and just kind of see, can you breathe into your hand here and make that needle go up at the same time?
Actually, that made it easier when you said that.
Oh, good, yeah. Now, what some people do to make it go up is they actually lift the pelvis. So push with your feet and lift your pelvis a little bit. And yes, this will make it go up at a certain point, but then you're lifting off of it and it's going to go back down because you're not on it anymore. So we're not trying to lift the pelvis. It's actually that there's a tiny little bit of a tilt, but more importantly, there's an expansion of the lower ribs and the back muscles that increase the pressure on the cuff. Okay, got it? And then you can play with things like being able to breathe normally and maintain the number, or making the number go up slightly and then come back down. It is interesting to see how high you can make it go, but really maximum isn't what we're looking for. It's the ability to have variability, because you want your half halts to be variable based on how much you need. Right? If you just do max all the time, you're going to park the horse. And we want to be able to just check the horse in its stride. So sometimes I think of it as just tapping on the brakes lightly, a little bit of back expansion for that half halt. Okay, how we doing?
Pretty good. I'm about 80.
Awesome. And you can just maintain that. You can talk normally. Super. Okay, so we're going to do one more thing before we're done. Okay, we're going to take you off this cuff. And you get to squish all the air out. So you open the valve and you squish all the air out, because what I'm going to do is take a second one. Okay? So you want to make sure it gets all the way back to 0. So a lot of people, their back is uneven. It's not muscled the same on the two sides. And you can either do this with 2 of these more expensive stabilizers, because you see it has snaps on it. And you can fold it where you can snap it together. Let's see. There we go. So that it's a third, right? It's much narrower. So you can either use 2 of these or 2 of these blood pressure cuffs, and we're going to use 2 of the blood pressure cuffs. And you're going to put 1 on either side. So you're just running it along the muscles on either side of the back. You're not going over the spine. The tricky part is inflating them equally. So that's why you have to start from a completely deflated cuff. And this one that I've brought today is an old one, and I haven't checked out to make sure it's still working okay. But you get the idea, right? So you're going to just close off the bulb, put the needle, put that part down. You don't want to look at it just yet. Okay? And you're going to take the bulb and you're going to squeeze them an equal number of times. Same pressure, because we want to put the same amount of air into the 2 cuffs. We're looking to see if your back muscles are making contact with the table equally on the 2 sides. So if you pump one up more than the other, that's skewing the experiment, right? So you pump the same number.
This one feels a little less, but I don't think I folded mine exactly the same.
And that's one of the things. But let's say that you did fold it the same, okay? And then if we take and we look at the 2 dials, grab that one. Okay, and we look at them, are they the same number? No. So that means that our back is not making equal contact on the 2 sides. And your horse is definitely going to notice that. Because if one side is more hollow than the other, that's going to affect your hip joint, it's going to affect the way your leg rests, it's going to affect the way he moves. So this is where using 2 equal cuffs, pumping them up the same number of pumps, and then looking at the dial and going, wow, it's not the same. And then you can do working with the cuff to see if you can expand one side of the back more than the other and alternate, because this is the kind of variability we need to ride really well. So that's going to be a homework assignment for you, is making sure that you can get the 2 sides of the back equal. Any questions?
No, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So have fun, go and get yourself a couple blood pressure cuffs and improve your back function, and your horse is really going to benefit from that.